Today we will see arrow functions. I am requesting again to all of you, audience on the YouTube and audience on the live audience in the live class, to go to the arrow functions. You should have a clear understanding of all these four things. If you have seen the last session, if you have attended the last session either on YouTube or here in the class, you must have, what you can say, studied these four things. If you have studied these four things properly, then and only then you are allowed to go to this fifth class, fifth part. Okay, make sure that if you have landed directly on this video by checking a thumbnail, remember that this is in conjunction with all four videos over here, or all four concepts over here. Okay, fine. So let's go ahead and see what is arrow function. So this is a normal function we have, function, and I can say speed up function, speed up. Hello? Yeah, function speed up. So speed up by how much? We can say I need a speed, say SPD. Okay, and here I can return some logic. We can write const speed is equals to SPD into 2 and return speed, and return what? Speed. So this is a normal function, right? How do we call the function? Speed up, and you can say 10. Speed up and what? 10. So this function would be getting called speed up and 10. So this is the one way of writing the functions where everything is a declarative. Const speed up, SPD, this is the input parameter, this is the body, start from this bracket to this bracket, return speed. Now another way we have seen anonymous functions. Here we can say speed up 1, speed up 1, speed up 2 is equals to anonymous function, a function with no name, correct? SPD, inside this same thing will happen. This already we have seen. Remember guys, we have seen all these things. Well, if you have understood this thing, write it in the comment box that you have understood all, and if you have watched the video on all these four parts of the function, write it in the comment box. So here const speed up to function SPD like this, correct? And then here you can say speed up to, same thing, 10. So you can relate this and this, and you can relate this and this, one and same. Now third way of writing a function is introduced in ES6. ES6, the sixth revision of the JavaScript. ES6. Just a minute. ES6. Now what is that way? Arrow functions. Just a minute. Well, when we say ES6, we have seen ECMA script also, right? What is the ECMA script? So when you refer ES6, remember that. Do you remember ECMA script? ECMA script is the organization which maintains the specification of what? JavaScript. They maintain the specification inside JavaScript. So here we can say ES6 says that speed up. So speed up 3 is equals to, instead of writing the function all like this, you can simply write parameter name. Well, I can write this part only. See now? And ES6 says that remove the unwanted things. Remove the unwanted things. And here you can write the bracket. Start bracket, end bracket. See here, speed up 3. SPD arrow. One and same. You can relate this and this. It is same. But this thing says that it is the shorter way of writing the functions. Hello? This is a shorter way of writing the function. So this is the anonymous, this is the traditional named functions, anonymous functions, and ES6 says that you can do something like this. You can do something like this. Speed up 3. Right? Speed up 1, speed up 2, speed up 3. Arrow functions, where the parameter names can be anything, right? Parameters name can be anything. In same fashion, you can give parameter names can be anything. Then const speed is equals to SPD into 2 return speed. If you see here, there is no function keyword written here, right? Parameters are written simply like this. After that, there is this symbol, a special kind of symbol. We call it as fat arrow. What we call it as? Fat arrow. And that's why these things are called as arrow functions also, because they are having arrow. But see, there is no difference. This function and this function is same. Only one difference is there. We will see that later on, not right now. So const speed up 3, SPD arrow like this. Const speed up 3, SPD arrow like this. This is the function body like this. So this can be written in a single line also. Const speed up 4 is equals to SPD. Just to change, just to make sure that you will not get confused, I can give any parameter name. Arrow in line also you can do this thing. Here we can say this into 2. So it is returning into 2. So meaning of this line, meaning of this code, meaning of this code, and meaning of this code is one and same. There is no difference. And how do you call it as? Speed up 4 and 10. So if you get any confusion about this line, or if you get any confusion about this line, look at this or this. They are same. This and this. So instead of creating a separate speed variable, right? Instead of creating separate speed variable, you can do this here also. So I will comment this, and here I can say return SPD into 2, correct? Why to create the const speed separately? Return SPD into 2. Similarly, this also. I'm just commenting this out. And I will keep everything in front of you. Right? Now here, when you have only one statement in the arrow function, if you have only one statement in the arrow function and which is returning, you can derive it like this. Hello? Yes. If you are not understanding, stop me right there and ask your question. If you have understood that, well and good. If you are not understanding, if you have any question, If you have any question, let me know. So if you have any questions, you can write it in the comment box. If you have any questions, you can write it in the comment box. All the people who will watch video on the YouTube, if you get any questions, do not forget to ask it in the comment box. If you have understood, still you can write it in the comment box. Even the people who are attending the class in person, whenever you watch this video again, right, whenever you watch this video again, make the comments. So I will understand that you have watched it again, right? All the people, not only people who will watch on YouTube, everyone, whenever you revisit this video again after the session, write the comment. If you have understood, write the comment. If you have question, do the comment on the YouTube. Okay. Yeah. So do you understand this thing? Const speed up 4. So this is the parameter, and all above codes are equal to this one line. So what you will prefer? This type of function, or this type of? Write it in the comment box. You tell me which way you will prefer. This one? Yeah. So other members, which way you will prefer and why you will prefer, write it in the comment box. Okay, this one, and this one. Remember that. So presently you have very simple code. So there is one drawback of the arrow function. Until and unless you have a good command, on the foundations of the functions, don't use it, right? But remember that they are very efficient, very readable. But sometimes that might create a confusion, because functions are written like this. Remember that this is a function. So to digest this thing, you need little efforts, correct? So you will say something like that, no, this is not a function, this is normal code. But remember that it is an arrow. So this is the input parameter, this is the return value. This is the input parameter, this is the return value. Presently you have only one input parameter, right? And you are returning this. So we can have something like this, const. Now what I need to do, change color. And here I can say R, G, B. Let's write first function. Change color 1. I can write a function RGB, and here we can say const red is equals to math dot RGB, correct, RGB, math dot random into here we can say 256, math dot random into 256. Then green and blue, and then we can return a string, a red, math dot random so we will, if R, if not R. Can you tell me what do you mean by if not R? Red is not means?
The red value is equal.
If no, please tell me what is the meaning of this. Explain me like ChatGPT. What do you mean by, consider that you are a chat GPT, and if not R means what? Not G means what? Not B means what?
There is a not a R value.
Means what?
Red value.
Means what? There is a specific word in the JavaScript that you have seen. We have studied that part. Hello?
Yes, sir. True
And
or false?
under the variables and functions, you have seen something called as spatial values,
Yes, sir.
right? Undefined. And then also we have seen the falsy values. Undefined. So what I was expecting over here, when I say not R means what? If the value of the R is undefined or null, then this code would be getting executed. So this is what expected from you, right? So what you answered, if there is not R, no, not R, you have answered like that. So you are allowing interviewer to ask you more questions. Be specific to the point, right? Be specific to the point you need to answer. When I say, what do you mean by this code? You need to explain in this way, like a chat GPT explains. If the value of R is undefined or null, then it will execute this code. Okay?
Yes.
Otherwise, what? Otherwise, so here we can say let red, green, blue. Let red, green, blue. If not R, red is equals to red, green is equals to green, and here we will see red is equals to R, green is equals to G, and blue is equals to B. Correct? And then we are checking. If not R, red is equals to this. What do you mean by this code now? What is
The
a,
value is G.
no, that is correct, but what is a math.random and 2 into 256?
256 is a value, color value.
Okay, but what is a math.random? So whenever you get questions like this, right, simply open the command prompt. Simply open the command prompt, cd day 26, and I will go to the node prompt, and here we can say math.random. What it returns? Math.random.
Function.
Yeah, can you see again? Math.random, it is returning this number. Can you see? Every time it is returning a number. Can you see that?
Yes.
A random number this function is returning. This function is returning what?
Random number.
Random number. Means this function, technical definition of this function, math.random returns a number between 0.0 to 1.0. What it returns? Math.random?
Number between
0 to, so something like this you can consider 0.2 into 256. So what is the color range? 0 to 255. In the CSS we have seen this or not?
Yes, sir.
In the CSS or across the physics, the color is ranging from 0 black to 255 white, a visible color.
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, any incomplete number multiplied by complete number. Okay? Any incomplete number multiplied by, this is the mathematics. this is the mathematics. Now see, 0.2 into, just a minute, 0.2 into 3, 0.2 into 3, 0.2 into 5, 0.2 into again, or here we can say math.random into 5, hit the enter. Again math.random into 5. Can you see it is generating the number 3.186, 1 point something like this? Can you see this? So every time it will generate the number which is lesser than this number. So whatever number it will generate, math.random will give you number from 0.0, right? Just a minute. So just calculate or just imagine. So any number, this 256 is multiplied by this fraction. The generated number will be always lesser than this thing. So this concept in mathematics is called as scaling factors. This concept is called as,
Scaling factor.
yeah. So whenever you say I'm sorry, this is not what you can say the scaling factor, but any number math.random is fraction multiplied by a complete number. Any number, a fraction which is multiplied by complete number, the generated value will be always less than this complete number. So whatever number should be getting generated over here, that would be always lesser than this 255, 256, which means that number should be ranging from 0 to 255, correct?
Yes, sir.
Number should be getting generated by 0 to 255. Yeah, so now I need to return red, green and blue. Red, green and blue. Change color, right? See, this much is the code. This much is the code. Now, can you write same code? Can you imagine same code by means of arrow functions? Can you tell me how can be done? You can write it in the comment box, all other members. How do you write the code?
The function RGB arrow math random into 256.
Math random into
256.
arrow functions. Const change color 2 is equals to R, G, B, arrow, and rest of the code is same inside a bracket. The rest of the code is same inside the bracket. So why you are thinking so much? Arrows and lambdas are same. Can you see this is equals to this? Correct? So when you say change color to RGB arrow, this thing, this is one and same. Well, we can further reduce it. Presently you don't know that thing, but we will see today itself. Change color 3 is equals to, okay, we'll see that later on, no problem. But your lambda will work in this way. Your lambda will work in this way. So can you further reduce it? Can you further reduce it? So this much lines of code can be rewritten. This much lines of code can be rewritten. Just a minute, think in a minute. Can you further reduce it or not?
Yes, sir.
So I need to reduce the code. Reduce means what? Code need to be reduced. Is it possible to reduce code furthermore?
Yes, sir.
How much? How do you reduce that?
Change color to equal to RGB.
Change.
Arrow.
Uh-huh. This arrow. So presently, how many lines of code is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 lines of code is there. So how do you reduce it? In one line. How do you reduce it to the one line? Is it possible or not?
Yes, sir.
That is possible, but presently you don't know the ways. Right?
In the question, a ternary operator.
Yeah, correct. We can use the ternary operator. Where? Here or here? If R, straight away you can use a ternary operator over here. Math.random into this. But presently you don't know the ternary operator, or you know it. If R,
I'm reading the ternary operator.
correct. If R is available over there, then you can use it like this. Same about green. I will copy all these things and put it to the green. Instead of R, just make it G, G. Same to the blue. So here we can say B, B, like this. And then you don't need this much code. I will comment it out instead of removing ternary operators. Let red and rest is same. or let's make a change color 3 const change color 3 is equals to RGB arrow. So this cannot be changed, right? So we can write this line here and return same thing. Return same thing. Correct? So this can be furthermore reduced. Instead of change color 4, instead of defining it here, instead of this red, just replace it with this code. Correct? Replace it with this code. Replace it with this code. Can you see one-liner code? And this can be further reduced to the one-liner code. 6 we can say.
There is a fifth.
Correct? In this way you can write. Do you understand this or not?
Yes.
So technically your code is this, right? We have converted to the multi-line arrow. Then we try to reduce it. We have reduced by means of the ternary operator. So here you have used the ternary operator like this. If this is true, can you see there is a question mark and arrow? Sorry, question mark and colon. If this thing is true, execute this part. If this thing is false, execute this part. If this thing is true, execute after the question mark, whatever you have written between question mark and colon. If R is true, if this is true, execute between the question mark and the colon. If R is true, execute between the question mark and the colon. If R is false, execute after the colon. If R is false, execute after the colon. Correct? This is the ternary operator. We are going to see that whenever we will learn the operators. Correct? So arrow functions we have seen. So arrow functions is introduced in the ES6 specification ES 2015, that is ES6 specification ES 2015, that is ES6. Getting my point? Now I have seen that we have not completed the documentation. Documentation is pending for the functions, right? Let us complete the documentation first till this, and then we'll move ahead. Okay, let's complete the document for these 4 concepts and the 5th one. Let me push this much code. ES6 arrow functions. So what I request you, keep your Git repositories up to date. To all the members, all the viewers on the YouTube, you also keep your Git repositories up to date. Everything related to the Git has been covered in the videos. Remember that today is the 26th day of the session, and we have covered everything related to the web development so far. If you have landed directly on this video, what I request you, check the previous videos also, where we have covered CSS in greater depth. And now we have started recently JavaScript. And into the JavaScript today we have covered what you can say arrow functions. A lot of things are there in the functions. We will cover time to time. But let's complete the documentation. Okay. Hello? Yeah. So what is function? It would be a good revision for you also, right? Explain what is function. What is function? So I can say H1. What is function? Remember that good developers document everything. So I want to teach you that habit also, and that's why I want to teach you that habit also, and that's why I am documenting everything in front of you. Otherwise I can do this thing on my own also. What is a function? A function is a self-contained block. A function is a self-contained block of code that perform the specific task or set of the tasks. Functions are, here you can say, functions are used to organize code into the reusable and modular components, making it easier to manage and understand the complex programs. Here are some key characteristics of the functions. Function declaration. How do you declare the function? H2. And here we can say function declaration. Function declaration. How do you declare the function? To create a function, you typically declare it with the name, specify its parameter, and define the code block. Right? Define what? Code block. So here is the basic syntax. This is the basic syntax of the function. It's not a shell, it's a JavaScript. So if you are reading while, so what I recommend from the beginning, whenever you see the video, at that time only you need to see the documentation, right? So documentation link is available in the video description, right? And video itself is available on the YouTube. You may check it. And the Git, whatever code I have pushed, that is available on my Git repository. That link is also available in the video description. If you have any questions, YouTube viewers, write it in the comment box about these links. Fine. So function name, this is the name of the function. So can you see here? Let's divide it, or let's understand it word by word. Function name. So function name is the name of the function. That can be anything. Correct? Function name of the function, parameter 1 and parameter 2. Function accepts two parameters, parameter 1 and parameter 2. Parameters are optional values that the function can accept as an input. Correct? Function call and invocation. Now how do you call the function? Again H2. And here we can say function call or invocation. So we can make a call or function call or invocation. So to execute the function, to perform the task, you need to call it or invoke it. To execute a function and perform its task, you need to call or invoke it. This is done by using the function name followed by the parenthesis that may contain the argument values if the function expects any. Arguments means what? These parameters. Correct? So how do you do that? You can say write code, and here Can you see function call with the arguments? So here we call it as arguments and here we call it as parameters. Here we call it as parameters. Right? Now we have seen something called as return value. What we have seen? H2. A return value. Good developers document everything. A return value. Function can optionally, here you can say function can optionally return a value when they finish executing. Function can return a value when they finish executing. This value can be used in the calling code or assigned to the variable in many programming languages. In JS, you can use a return statement to specify what value to be returned. The code would be like this. Function add AB, A plus B, and can you see return A plus B, calling the function and allocating the thing to the result. Correct? Any questions so far? If you have any questions, if you have any queries, you can ask me right now or you can write it in the comment box. I will answer that. Okay, return value. Then reusability of the functions. H2. What's the benefit of having function? A reusability. A reusability. What is a reusability? Functions promote the reusability. Functions promote the code reusability. Instead of duplicating same code again and again, instead of duplicating the same code for the similar task in the different parts of your program, you can define a function once and call it multiple times, right, with the different inputs. About the scoping, H2, here we can say scoping. About the scoping, functions have their own scope. We have seen this thing at the time of variables, right? Let and const, let and var.
Where?
Let and var. At the time of let and var, we have seen this thing. So functions have their own scope, meaning they can access the variables defined within themselves or in the parent scope, usually in the global scope. Presently, you don't know what is the global scope, but we will see shortly. But not the variable defined inside other functions. Now see, this is one function, correct? Sorry, this is one function. Here I have declared const AB is equals to 90. That 90 cannot be used over here. AB is not accessible. This AB is not accessible inside this function, correct? For the reason this is a separate function, this is a separate function. So whatever you write it over here, that cannot be accessed inside this function. That's what they are saying, scoping. Functions can access the variables or other functions which are written in parent scope or the same scope, but not the variables which are declared in the other functions are not accessible, right? Then there is something called as modularity. So here functions help break down the complex task into the smaller, more manageable pieces. This modular approach improves the code maintainability, which means that, so change color would be written inside the change color. Speed up would be written inside the speed up. So speed related things will go inside the speed function. Color related things would go inside the color function. So you will not write directly. Getting my point?
Yes.
So without function, if you try to write it, it would be in a one file itself. Everything in a one file itself. Right? You getting my point or not? If this function is not there, right? And if I copy paste this code directly, it is very bad. So you'll get confused which code is for color and which code is for speed. Getting my point or not? Similarly, we can copy this code also. Now consider that only this much is the file. Const spd, and here we can say const spd is equals to 20. Now see, if you check this code, so this code is standing for the color related operations. This code is standing for speed. So there is no distinction between these codes. If you want to make the distinction between these codes, functions will help you. Color related code, write it in one function. Can you see? Color related code you have written in one function, and speed related code you have written in one function. So you can consider this thing as a modules. One module for speed, one module for color. Right? Then, so these are what you can say important things about the function. When you say function, you are doing these many things: reusability, scoping, modularity. Right? In the JavaScript, when you say is it, then we have seen this is about the first basic. Correct? Then about the second basic, here we are checking the type. Here you are checking what? Type. Because checking type is important. Just a minute. JS is dynamically typed. If presently n is what? We have seen like this. So this function is supposed to make a square of the number, given number. This function is supposed to do what? Square of a number. But JavaScript allows, can you see, sqr hello, 10 and true. So this is invalid. This is what? Invalid. You getting my point? So it is absolutely necessary to check the type of the parameter. In some cases, it is absolutely necessary to check the type of parameters, what type of parameter it is. And accordingly, you need to perform, what you can say, a logic. And for that, we need to check something called as type of. Right? Type of keyword we have seen. Just a minute. Yeah. So this thing we have seen. So this sqr function is meant to make a square is meant to what? Have the square. Now, what is this? What is a function? H1, and here we can say type of, or H1 checking the type, checking the type of parameters. Okay. So we will use the type of keyword, checking the type of parameters. So why it is required? For validating the types, here we can say, sorry, H2 type validation, then error handling, then conditional execution, preventing the type errors like this. So here first we can say H1 type of keyword, sorry, not H1, it is a H2. What is a type of keyword? So when you say type of keyword, the type of keyword in the JavaScript is one kind of operator, actually is a unary operator. See here, the keyword in the JavaScript, type of is a keyword in JavaScript, is a unary operator that is used to determine the data type or a type of value of the expression variable. It returns a string, it returns a string of the operand. It returns a string representing the data type of the operand. It returns a string representing the data type of the operand. The syntax would be as below. And here we can say type of operand. Right? So type of can be used, you can say, to check the primitive data types, to check the primitive data types. When used with the primitive data types, that is number, boolean. See, what are the primitive data types? When used with the data types like numbers, strings, booleans, undefined, and null, the type of returns, the type of returns a string that corresponds to the particular data type. For example, type of 42 is number, right? We have seen this thing. Type of hello is a string. Type of true is a boolean. Something like that. Type of undefined is undefined. Right? If it is used with the objects and the functions, type of objects and the functions. When it is used with the objects and the functions, it returns, when used with the objects including the arrays and functions, type of object, it returns the object type for the regular objects, arrays, and the functions. So type of, if you see any JavaScript object is object, type of this array is also object, and type of, here we can say, function, which returns as something like this. Correct? Type of keyword. Now, importance of the type of keyword. Importance of the type of keyword. Well, type of is not only used here, turn it to H1. So first, type of keyword needs to be understood. Type of keyword. Okay. Now the type of keyword, here you can say, the type of keyword in JavaScript is crucial in the context of the function parameters for the several reasons. First, type validation. It allows you here, it allows you to validate the type of the function parameter by checking type of the input values. By checking the type of the input values, you can ensure that the function receives the expected data type, helping to prevent the unexpected errors and bugs caused by incorrect input. So here we need to make a square, but you cannot make a square of a string, you cannot make a square of a boolean. Yes or no?
Yes.
To avoid that, we use type of. Error handling, you can use a type of, you can use a type of to perform the error handling or the validation of the input data. For example, if a function expects the numeric input and receives the string instead, you can catch the error early and handle it gracefully by providing the appropriate feedback. So here, now see what we are doing. We are just checking it. What we are doing, we are simply checking the type of this n. But here we can write the else block also, right? If exactly equals to number, then do this thing. Otherwise, give a proper message. Input the number only. Yes or no?
Yes.
Right? That's what the error handling is. Conditional execution based on the type parameters. Here you can say based on the type of the parameter, you can conditionally execute the different logic within the function. This enables the specialized behavior for the, which means that here we can write if condition, if type of n number, then do this thing. If type of n is string, then do this thing. If type of n is date, then do this thing. Getting my point?
Yes.
Right? So that is the conditional execution. Now, preventing the type errors, JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. Remember that. JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, which means that the variable types can change during the runtime. Variable types can change during the runtime. Using the type of, here you can say, using type of to check parameter types helps to catch a type related errors early, reducing the likelihood of the runtime errors. reducing the likelihood of the runtime errors that can be challenging to debug. Means if you see here in our code, presently here n is string, here n is number, here n is true. But we want to restrict n to be number only. So we have written logic something like this. That is what preventing the type related errors. Correct?
Yes.
So this is what we have seen in the second function basics 2. Third, functions can be assigned to the variables. Correct? Functions can be assigned to the variables. Functions can be assigned to variables. Now, in the JavaScript, remember that functions are the first class citizens. We will talk about this little bit later on. Functions are the first class citizens, meaning that function play a vital role. Now, what is a vital role? You will get to know. But this is a beginning, remember that. Why I have covered this? This is the beginning of the functional programming. This is the beginning of what? Functional programming. And that's why this, you should know this thing. So one function can be assigned to the another variable. So let us see that. Functions. What is functions? Function assignments to the variables, H1. Function assignments. To variables. Now, in the JavaScript, functions are the first class citizens. In the JavaScript, functions are the first class citizens, which means that they can be treated like any other value, such as number, strings, or object. One of the key feature of the first class function behavior, that you can assign the functions to the variables. Assign the functions to what? Variables. Here is an explanation how you can do it. Here is an explanation how and why functions can assign variables to the JavaScript. First, H2, function declaration. We need to declare the function. Function declaration. In the JavaScript, you can declare the function using the function keyword. We have seen that. Code, say hello, and function can be called using say hello. Then assign a function to variable. Assign function to variable. You can assign a function to the variable just like other value. Right? Or const hello is equals to say hello. See, this is not a call, Remember that, not a call. Brackets are missing, round brackets are missing. Note, not a call, round brackets are missing. right? Round brackets are missing. So this is the anonymous function you have assigned to the variables. This is a traditional function, assigning functions to a variable. Getting my point? This is what we have seen in this chapter, correct? Then anonymous functions. Anonymous functions, say h1. Anonymous functions. So what are the anonymous functions? In the JavaScript, anonymous functions, the functions that doesn't have any name. In the JavaScript, an anonymous function is a function that doesn't have any name. Instead of being declared with the function name, it is defined using the function keyword. Instead of being declared with the function name, it is defined using the function keyword without an identifier. The anonymous functions are also sometimes referred as the function literals. They are commonly used for the various purposes in the JavaScript, including the callbacks, event handling, and creating the closures. Right? We'll see that later on. What do you mean by all those things? Callback and other thing. You'll get to know. So here you can define a function like this. Anonymous function can be written like this. Anonymous functions. So where anonymous functions are used? Rest is same, right? There is no difference about anonymous function. It is just having no name. Hello? Common use cases. Here are some common use cases for anonymous functions. First, callback functions. So just remember the words right now. We are going to see all these things practically. Hello? Event handlers. Module design pattern. Are you understanding all this or not?
Yes.
So online members, if you are understanding, please let me know. Model design pattern or IIFEs. Model design patterns or IIFEs. Closures. We are going to see all these terms in detail.
Yes.
Inline functions. And what? Inline functions.
Inline.
These are some use cases for anonymous functions, callback functions. Anonymous functions are often used as a callback, where, see here, anonymous functions are often used as a callback functions in anonymous operations or the higher order functions like for each, map, and filter. You will get to know these things. Event handlers, when defining event handlers for the HTML, at the time of a DOM, you will get to know this thing. When defining event handle for the HTML elements, it is common to use the anonymous functions. Immediately invocable functions are also called as model design pattern. Anonymous functions. Anonymous functions can be invoked immediately after their declaration. This is useful for creating the private scope and preventing the variable population in the global scope. Closures. Anonymous, what you can say? Anonymous functions are often used to create the closures, which allows you to encapsulate and preserve the scope of the variable, which allows you to preserve the scope of the variable. Inline functions, when you, so all these terms, whatever we talked about, are coming from one a separate programming pattern called as functional programming. We are going to see that separately. When you need a simple function for a short task, you can use the anonymous function directly in your code without assigning them to the variables. This is common in the functional programming, right? Like this. Directly function has been assigned to the variable, right? Inline anonymous function. So this is a third day. Now here, what we have seen? Object. See here, object. Inside object, we have created the function. This is again anonymous function. Use of anonymous function we have seen. You can create the object, and object keys are also the functions, right? Anonymous functions. Example of the anonymous functions we have seen. Now, arrow functions. Today we have seen arrow functions, and when you say arrow functions, what I said H1, arrow functions introduced in ES6, correct? Arrow functions introduced in ES6, arrow functions. Arrow functions are introduced in ES6 provide a more concise syntax for defining functions in the JavaScript. They are the shorthand way. They are what? A shorthand way to write the anonymous functions. Arrow functions are especially useful. Arrow functions are especially useful for writing shorter and more readable code. Shorter, more readable code, and they have the specific behavior and rules that differ from the traditional function expressions. That differ from what? Traditional function expression. Here are explanation for the key features. So basic syntax we have seen. H2. Basic syntax. Conciseness. No new keyword. Okay, just the basic syntax. The basic syntax of arrow function. The basic syntax of arrow function consists of a set of parameters, an arrow and a function body. The function body can be a single expression. Here you can say the function body can be a single expression or the block of the statement enclosed in the curly braces. Hello?
Yes.
So example code you can see here. greet, something like this, and something like this. Conciseness, arrow functions are often used when function body is simple. Arrow functions. Arrow functions are often used when function body is simple and single expression. In such cases, see here, we have seen this thing also. In such cases, you can omit the curly braces and the return keyword. The function will automatically return the result of the expression. Correct? Double num into 2. Right?
Yes, sir.
So this we have seen. When to use arrow function? We can see when to use arrow function. Arrow function is a good choice when the function body is single simple expression. When you want to preserve the surrounding this context, forget about this statement right now. You want to preserve the surrounding this context, such as in the callbacks. When you want to write the shorter code more and concise. So I told you there is a one difference between normal function and the arrow function, and that is nothing but related to this statement. Okay, we will see what do you mean by this and other thing later on. So this is about what? Arrow functions and other things. So we have completed the documentation. Tomorrow we will see few more things about the functions, right? And we might start the operators. Any questions do you have? Yeah, so let's call it for a day then, and we'll meet tomorrow. Yeah, please revise the recording, type the code, and push it to the Git. Make your Git repository up to date. To all online viewers, YouTube viewers, if you have any questions, queries, write it in the comment box. If you have understood the session, also write it in the comment box. Thank you. Let's wind up today's session.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.